picture this. It is May 2026.
Right.
And exactly 19 years have just slipped by since a 3-year-old girl vanished into the night.
From apartment 5A at the Ocean Club.
Exactly. In Praia de Luz, Portugal. And if you close your eyes, you can almost, visualize the space. A quiet holiday resort, a family dinner happening just 100 yards away.
Yeah.
There's a heavy set of shutters, a door left slightly ajar. And today, that little girl would be turning 23.
It's hard to even process that.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about how much you have changed in the last 19 years. How much the world has completely moved on.
Entire eras, really.
Right. Technology, geopolitics, culture, it's all come and gone. But for the family of Madeleine McCann, it's like the clocks just stopped in 2007. The rest of the globe kept spinning, but their search absolutely has not.
No, it hasn't. We're looking at this hyper-localized, agonizing tragedy that essentially froze time for a single family.
Yeah.
But while simultaneously mutating into the most heavily reported missing person case in modern history.
Which is wild.
And, the sheer passage of time hasn't just prolonged the mystery. It has fundamentally altered the mechanics of how this crime is being investigated today.
And that structural shift is exactly our mission for this deep dive.
Yes.
We were looking at a stack of incredibly revealing present-day sources. We've got recent investigative updates from the Manchester Evening News, the Mirror, Tyla, and this highly detailed interview broadcast on Good Morning Britain.
Lots of ground to cover.
A ton of ground. We are going to guide you through the exact reality of this case right now in 2026.
Which looks very different from 2007.
So different. We'll unpack the massive transition from that chaotic, deeply flawed media frenzy of the early days right through to the microscopic precision of modern forensics.
And, of course, the suspect.
Right. We're going to examine the prime suspect who, despite a staggering amount of circumstantial evidence, is currently walking free.
Yeah.
And finally, we will navigate the incredibly complex web of international law that is, honestly, actively standing in the way of a trial.
The evolution of this case it's deeply sobering.
Yeah, it really is.
We were tracking a narrative that moves from a period defined by just blinding public scrutiny and deeply flawed police hypotheses into a modern phase that's entirely dictated by cellular biology and geopolitical borders.
So to ground us in where things stand right now, May 3, 2026 marks the 19th anniversary of the disappearance.
Right.
And Kate and Gerry McCann released a statement through the official Find Madeleine campaign that it forces you to pause.
What did they?
They wrote, 19 years, the search goes on. For Madeleine, who we love and miss every day, we will never give up.
Wow. Reading a statement like that, you're just struck by the sheer psychological endurance required to survive almost 2 decades of ambiguous loss.
I can't even imagine.
But it also serves as a stark contrast to what they endured in the very beginning, because that widespread public sympathy we see today, that is a relatively recent development. The initial investigation in 2007 operated like a pressure cooker.
Oh, absolutely.
And a massive amount of that pressure was weaponized directly against the parents themselves.
We are seeing that brutal reality depicted in a major piece of media releasing right now, actually. Channel 5 is airing a new factual drama called Under Suspicion, Kate McCann, on May 20th.
I saw the trailer for that.
And it refuses to let the viewer look away from those early days. The drama takes us to a point about 3 months into the search.
Okay.
The Portuguese police are turning up empty. They have no substantial leads, the forensic evidence is a complete mess, and the international media is just screaming for answers.
Which is a dangerous combination.
Extremely. So, in response to that deafening noise, they summon Kate McCann.
And the portrayal of that event is chilling because it's entirely rooted in official statements and recorded testimony.
Right, it's not fictionalized.
Exactly. The drama depicts this grueling 11-hour interrogation. And the detectives don't just question Kate, they explicitly tell her they do not believe her narrative.
Which is terrifying.
In the absence of an obvious suspect, the investigators fall into a classic psychological trap. They turn on the proximity of the parents.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because they threaten her with the absolute worst-case scenario. They tell her that the very next day she's going to be officially named an arguida.
A formal suspect under Portuguese law.
Right. And they offer her this horrific twisted deal. They say, confess to accidentally killing your own daughter and hiding the body, or face immediate jail time.
Unbelievable.
Laura Baston, the actress playing Kate in the new drama, described filming those specific interrogation scenes as a physical punch in the guts.
I bet.
She said the emotional arc required moving from utter despair to white rage, because at that moment, Kate realized something terrifying.
That if they blame her, the search stops.
Exactly. If the detectives officially decided she was guilty, the search for the actual predator who took Madeleine would instantly shut down.
That realization is the ultimate terror for any parent. But if we break down the mechanics of criminal investigations, we can see the anatomy of this massive failure.
Right.
In high-profile cases, police departments are highly susceptible to confirmation bias, especially under the glare of global media.
Because everyone is watching.
Everyone! And when the public demands immediate closure, investigators often abandon objective forensics and rely heavily on proximity.
Just who was statistically closest to the victim.
Exactly. They build a rigid hypothesis first and then forcefully try to make the ambient evidence fit that narrative.
I'm trying to visualize how an entire precinct gets it that wrong. It's like a chaotic theater production, right? Where the directors are so fixated on forcing the wrong actors, the parents, into the villain roles that the real culprit literally just slips out the back door unnoticed.
That's a great way to put it. And the cost of that fixation is time. In any abduction case, the golden hours, the first 24 to 48 hours, are everything.
And they lost them.
Completely.
Yeah.
Because the Portuguese police were fixated on the parents, those critical hours just evaporated. Borders weren't immediately locked down. Forensics at the crime scene were allegedly cross-contaminated.
Wow.
This initial systemic misdirection is the direct reason why we are looking at such staggering financial and scientific investments today.
Because they had to completely rebuild the investigation from scratch years later.
Yes, exactly.
And that massive course correction is known as Operation Grange. It's the long-term, heavily funded British cold case review, launched by the Met Police back in 2011.
Right.
And the sheer scale of the resources required to fix those early mistakes is astronomical. I mean, the UK Home Office just allocated another £86,000 to keep the operation running through the 2026-27 financial year.
Which pushes the total expenditure since 2011 to roughly $13.3 million.
$13.3 million, that's incredible.
It is. And while there's been significant debate among retired detectives regarding the disproportionate funding of this single case versus thousands of other missing children.
Sure, which is a valid debate.
Very valid. But this current budget allocation is entirely different from the early days of Operation Grange. They are no longer casting a wide speculative net.
Right, they have a target.
The entire operation is now laser-focused on one specific individual.
And that individual is Christian Brueckner, a 48-year-old German national officially named as the prime suspect in 2020.
Yeah.
And I want to spend some time on him, because I understand why £13 million is being spent. We really have to look at his behavioral profile.
You do.
Jim Gamble, a former senior child protection officer who worked on the early UK investigation, offered a really chilling assessment on Good Morning Britain.
What did he say?
He didn't just call Brueckner a predator. He classified him specifically as a non-preferential offender.
Ah, yes. That classification is vital to understanding how he operates.
Can you break that down for us?
Sure. A preferential offender typically has a very rigid, specific victim type and meticulously plans their crimes around that fixation.
Okay.
A non-preferential offender, an opportunist, acts on a spectrum of dark, violent impulses based entirely on vulnerability and access.
Just whoever is there and vulnerable.
Exactly. If we look at Brueckner's history in Portugal, he was burglarizing holiday apartments in the exact vicinity of the Ocean Club.
Which is terrifying access.
It is. We also know a mobile phone attributed to him pinged off a cell tower covering the crime scene at the exact time of the disappearance.
Wow.
And most significantly, he has a verified conviction for the brutal 2005 rape of a 72-year-old American woman committed right there in Praia da Luz.
So the timeline and the geography line up perfectly. But then you look at the physical evidence they've been unearthing, and it goes from suspicious to genuinely deeply disturbing.
Yes, the 2025 searches.
Right. In 2025, German and Portuguese authorities conducted these massive coordinated searches across a 120-acre area near a cottage Brueckner used to rent in Portugal.
They really tore that place apart.
They brought in heavy machinery, they drained an old well, and right at the bottom, they pull up a 6.35 caliber semi-automatic gun.
Which is a significant find.
It is, but it gets so much darker than a weapon. A recent Channel 4 documentary highlighted evidence extracted from an 80-gigabyte hard drive found at a property connected to him.
And the digital footprint left on that drive provides a terrifying window into his psychology.
Here's where it gets really interesting and honestly sickening. We're talking about a collection of over 70 children's swimsuits,
Yeah.
a toddler's bike,
Yeah.
And then there were the handwritten stories. These meticulously detailed, sick fantasies about using sedatives to kidnap women and children from outside a preschool.
It's horrifying.
Investigators even recovered transcripts of Skype conversations where he talks about wanting to capture something small and use it for days.
What's fascinating here is when you compile that data, you are looking at an incredibly highly dangerous predator living exactly where Madeleine vanished, at the exact time she vanished,
Right.
possessing a digital archive that mirrors the exact nature of the crime with a documented history of severe offenses in that very town.
Okay, so I am struggling to square these two realities. You have a suspect whose phone is placed at the scene, who has a history of brutalizing vulnerable people in that specific resort, and who has a hard drive full of horrific, highly relevant evidence.
Yet as of September 2025, Christian Brueckner was released from prison. He is currently walking free, living in Germany, monitored only by an ankle bracelet. How does the justice system look at a mountain of evidence like that and simply unlock the jail cell?
It comes down to a fundamental clash between psychological certainty and forensic certainty.
Maybe.
Under the German legal system, you cannot hold a suspect in preventive detention indefinitely without bringing formal, specific charges for a new crime.
Right, you can't just hold someone because they're a bad guy.
Exactly. Brueckner completed his 7-year sentence for the 2005 rape. His time was up. To keep him behind bars for the McCann case, prosecutors needed to formally charge him with murder.
But surely the swimsuits, the digital footprint, the phone data, isn't that enough to bring a charge?
In a no-body murder investigation, the legal threshold is staggeringly high. The law demands a chain of evidence that leaves zero reasonable doubt.
I
You take the gun pulled from the well. It was described by investigators as so oxidized, it was practically an archaeological artifact. Right, it had been sitting in water for years.
Exactly. It requires months of metallurgical testing to even determine if it functions, let alone definitively linking it to an event in 2007.
Wow.
And the hard drive proves depraved intent and monstrous fantasies, but a fantasy is not a video recording of him inside apartment 5A.
It's circumstantial.
Highly circumstantial. The prosecutors are looking at a puzzle where the overall picture is obvious, but the central interlocking piece that ties the suspect directly to the physical body of the victim is missing.
And if they miss?
If they take him to trial and fail to prove it definitively, double jeopardy attaches, and he walks free forever.
Oh, wow. So they only get one shot at this.
Exactly. One shot.
So they're forced to replace circumstantial history with undeniable biology, which completely explains why the entire focus of the investigation in 2026 has shifted away from behavioral profiles and into microscopic laboratories.
Precisely. They know who they are looking at, but they need the science to close the gap. They're leaning heavily into cutting-edge scientific disciplines that simply did not exist back in 2007.
Like what?
For instance, specialist labs in the UK and Germany are aggressively remapping those original 2007 cell phone pings.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, 19 years ago, a ping simply told you a phone connected to a mast covering a radius of several square miles.
Not very specific.
Not at all. But today, using modern geolocation algorithms, they can analyze signal strength degradation and overlapping sector data to pinpoint that device's exact movements down to specific street corners.
That's incredible. It's like trying to find a single specific pixel in a corrupted photograph from almost 2 decades ago.
It really is.
And they aren't just looking for a smoking gun, right? They are using 2026 standard touch DNA technology on old clothing and degraded bone fragments found in those recent searches.
Yes, the touch DNA is crucial.
They're trying to find a few stray epithelial cells shed from a momentary grasp, separated from 19 years of environmental contamination.
And this is where the narrative takes another deeply frustrating turn. Oh,
Let's assume the science works. Let's say tomorrow, a specialist lab in Berlin isolates that irrefutable touch DNA linking Brueckner directly to the crime.
that would be the breakthrough of the century.
It would be. The Met Police will immediately want to bring Brueckner to the UK to stand trial. But because of massive shifts in international geopolitics, they will slam into a bureaucratic brick wall.
Wait, are we talking about the fuck out from Brexit here?
Yes. The entire architecture of European extradition has changed.
Oh, man.
While the UK was part of the European Union, the European arrest warrant acted as a streamlined fast-track system for moving suspects between member states.
Right, it was fairly seamless.
But post-Brexit, the UK is legally considered a third country outside the EU framework. That means the fast-track system no longer applies in the same way.
And from the German side, it's even more restrictive, isn't it?
Much more restrictive.
Yeah.
Germany's basic law, their constitution, contained Article 16,
which generally prohibits the extradition of its own citizens to non-EU countries. This was designed post-World War II to protect German citizens from being shipped off to face arbitrary justice in foreign tribunals.
That makes historical sense, but in this context,
It's a nightmare. German prosecutor Hans Christian Wolters has publicly stated that extraditing Brueckner to the UK is virtually out of the question because constitutional protections make sending a citizen to a post-Brexit UK incredibly difficult, if not legally impossible.
and Brueckner is entirely aware of this gridlock.
Oh, absolutely.
When reporters recently asked him about the possibility of facing a trial in the UK, his response was just 4 chilling words. He said, "No comment. I have good lawyers."
It is a statement of supreme confidence. He
Right.
knows he is currently insulated by a massive bureaucratic shield.
I have to admit, hearing that makes my blood boil. And I imagine anyone listening feels the exact same way.
It's incredibly frustrating.
It feels like we are literally prioritizing rigid trade bloc technicalities and geopolitical borders over justice for a missing 3-year-old child. How can international law operate as an inadvertent sanctuary for a predator?
It's agonizing to watch unfold, but the reality of international law is that these constitutions are designed with strict, inflexible borders to protect human rights broadly.
Right, they have to apply to everyone.
Exactly. Those laws exist to prevent politically motivated extraditions globally. The unintended consequence, however, is that in highly unique, multi-jurisdictional cold cases like this one,
Where the victim is British, the crime occurred in Portugal, and the suspect is German.
right, those exact protections create an inescapable labyrinth. Prosecutors are trying to navigate a maze where the walls continuously shift based on evolving international treaties.
And while the lawyers and politicians argue over those shifting borders, the collateral damage of this 19-year case just continues to ripple outward, leaving this bizarre, tragic wake behind it.
It really has impacted so many lives.
Even the physical location itself has been permanently scarred. Apartment 5A in Praia de Luz was eventually sold for £113,000, which is exactly half of its original asking price.
I'm surprised anyone bought it at all.
Right, and the new owner was forced to build incredibly high hedges and large wooden gates just to stop the morbid reality of Maddie tours from docking into their living room windows.
The psychological impact on the public has been equally profound, often bordering on mass delusion.
Like the Julia Wandelt situation.
Exactly. You have this recent phenomenon of Julia Wandelt, a Polish woman who gained global viral attention by loudly claiming to be Madeleine McCann.
Just a completely fabricated story.
In early 2026, she was formally convicted in a Polish court of harassing the McCann family, even after DNA testing definitively proved she was not their daughter.
It's just so sad. The trauma of the initial crime is so massive it generates its own dark gravity, endlessly pulling in conspiracy theorists, tourists, and grifters.
It's a tragic circus.
It really is.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, take a second to think about what this all means for you listening right now. I think it fundamentally challenges how we consume true crime media.
How so?
Well, when we watch a documentary, we want a neat, satisfying narrative, right? Where the evidence is clear, the bad guy is caught, and justice is swift.
We want the bow tied at the end of the hour.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this case proves that reality is a grueling, decades-long marathon. It is the slow, agonizing, microscopic evolution of forensic science.
Yeah.
It is the unthinkable daily weight of a family that has lost 19 years. And it is the maddening complexity of international law. It forces us to look past the sensational headlines and recognize the slow, grinding machinery of justice operating beneath it all.
The truth is rarely engineered to fit into a convenient broadcast window. It requires immense financial resources, profound scientific patience, and a willingness to follow microscopic evidence wherever it leads, no matter how many legal borders it crosses.
Which leaves us with one final, lingering question for you to ponder on your own. We started by picturing that chaotic investigation in 2007 with an entire police force looking in the exact wrong direction.
Right.
Now, 19 years later, the stage is cleared, the early mistakes are known, and the scientists are quietly at work in their labs.
Waiting for a breakthrough.
Right. Imagine that tomorrow morning, 2026 level technology finally isolates that one irrefutable microscopic cell of touch DNA linking Christian Brueckner to Madeleine McCann.
The final puzzle piece.
If the science finally solves this 19-year-old puzzle, will the rigid geopolitical borders of a post-Brexit legal system actually allow a trial to take place? Or has the map itself become the ultimate defense attorney?